My man, Justin, thank you so much for returning the favor and being on the other side of the mic this time around and coming on the Winner's Paradigm podcast, brother. So before we jump into us talking, because me and you are good friends, give us a brief intro of who you are, what you're passionate about today, brother.
Absolutely, bro. I mean, I'm most passionate right now about the fact that the man I'm speaking to has not eaten in 6 days, bro. I'm an online health and fitness coach, and the thought of a human being in this world going 6 out of 10 days that he's gonna do not eating is fucking remarkable, and that inspires me more than you know, brother.
Amen, bro. And it's tough, and for me, I didn't even want to start it. Originally it was just a 4 day. I was supposed to do it, or it's the 86-hour fast, which isn't even 4 days. It's the 96 is 4. So I was thinking I'm gonna do the 86, and then a group they were like, do 86. And I told myself I'm gonna get a 6-pack by December 31st. So first I was pushing hard, cutting, getting there, and then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do this fast. So first it went to 4. And then it was funny because kind of like that Wes Watson quote when he was talking, and he's like, that internal voice that you have, that's God within you, right? And that's
Yeah,
basically what it is. It's the Holy Spirit telling you. And for me, I was just sitting there one night and I'm just like praying before I'm going to sleep. And it's like, you can do more. You can do more. I'm like, all right, fuck it. I'll do a 7-day fast. So I'm just set on this 7-day fast and I'm putting it out into the world. And my wife's like, why are you telling everybody you're going to do a 7-day fast? And I'm like, oh, for accountability purposes. If I
yeah,
say it to you, now I have to do it because I don't want to be a liar. Last year or beginning of this year, excuse me, I failed a detox. It was supposed to be a 7-day detox. And that was when I first started fasting. So I did the first 48-hour fast. And then after that, it's a
okay,
paleo style meal. So I got to day 5 and then I tapped out because my body was feeling terrible because I didn't back then I wasn't looking at what I should be eating. I was
mhm,
listening to, oh, you should eat this salad. And then I was like, oh, I should have this plant-based fucking chicken. Yeah, that made me feel terrible. So I should have
yeah,
just stuck to fruits and veggies and I would have been perfectly fine. And then, fruits and veggies, fish or something. But I didn't do that. So failed that. I kind of felt like a failure. So when it came to this time around, and I was thinking about this, I was like, well, I've done a 48 and that was miserable because I didn't drink any water for that 48. So
uh-huh,
I was just like,
dude,
miserable. And then my wife, she got a craniotomy in September. So she had 3 brain surgeries and it was a hell of a time. And when she was in the hospital, 3rd surgery, I did 450 burpees outside the hospital. And then I kind of was just like, there's more for me to do. So laying in bed the other night, she has to get these stomach injections now for the migraines from that surgery. And I was like, you know what? Why don't I just do a 10-day fast? And then I look over to her, I'm like, a 10-day fast. She looks at me, she's like, what are you talking about? I'm gonna do a 10-day fast. She's like, you can't go 1 day without eating. How are you gonna go 10? And I was like, I don't know, but we're gonna figure this thing out. So that's kind of how it all started. Day 6
bro.
now, still 10K steps every day, 2 workouts. I haven't been lifting weights, but I've been doing burpees, so 50 to 100 a day. And then the last 2 days, I'm gonna up the steps to 20K because I want to get closer to that 6-pack. So it's been a hell of a time, brother.
Dude, I just had to come on and acknowledge that because it's just I'm in the industry, bro. I mean, fasting is it's just right up my alley, and it's something that I've been experiencing and doing the past month, I should say. And as you know, getting a group of people together, about 20 of us, that go through these fasts in and out. Different people come in, but I want to spread the movement because I think it's so powerful. Because just getting back to your initial question, being a health and fitness coach, I feel like so many people have a bad relationship with food, and it's the biggest reason why there's weight gain and a lot of overweight people. But more than that, as you know, our mental health is tied in with our physical health, and so many mental health disorders and problems that people have that they think are because of their mindset are really because of their body and their stomach and the relationship with food. And so I'm big on fasting, and I got into this industry during COVID and wanting to lose weight and look better because I was like most people who were just eating, because we were stuck in our homes. And I was like, I can't be like this. I need something more. And I had that inner journey, that inner consciousness Like you were saying, the West quote, I got teamed up with him. He coached me. And then, bro, I lost like 45 pounds. And then a couple people asked me on Instagram, and I was like just helping people for free. And then it became like, you know what, I should charge. So then Wes ended up helping me with coaching. And then I started my own program, started working online. And then it just grew and grew. And then I started traveling. So now I'm a digital nomad, online health and fitness coach slash life coach that loves to talk about the things in this life of depth.
Mm.
So and substance. So that's pretty much what I'm doing right now. I'm currently in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, and I've been here for like 5 weeks, man. And I'm gonna stay till the end of January.
That is awesome, brother. And that is awesome that you're able to do that. And that was one of the things I've been following with you since I did that podcast interview with you on your podcast.
Yeah.
But I'm always seeing you traveling and then always staying in amazing shape, and you talked about that relationship to food. Literally before this call, me and you were talking about my macros of what I'm
Yeah.
normally at. And it was funny because that was something for me that I understood, but I didn't take to heart. It was kind of, I'm going to eat whatever. And that's
Yeah.
where I was like, now, I'm so disciplined, so clean. I work out twice a day that I can have those bad meals and so forth. But for the majority of people, it's not like that. And I know for me and you, when we first started our journeys, there's no way we can do what we're doing now because
Yeah.
we weren't there. Our body wasn't ready for it. We didn't have the nutrition.
Mhm.
Maybe the education factor, maybe there was some things we learned. Like I know for me, I learned getting a lot of the carbs from fruit and veggies has been big for me. Because before I'd be like, I don't really want to eat that. I want to eat potatoes. And it's like, you can eat potatoes, but you got to be strategic with them versus, eating some blueberries and cutting it low. And that was where I was like, okay, did that, lost the weight, lost 35 pounds. And then I was like, all right, I'm starting to look a lot better. I'm starting to
Mhm.
feel a lot better. So for you, when
Yeah.
it comes to getting your macros dialed in, how important is it for somebody to understand their macros and then understand that they need to live in alignment with their macros?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, first off, there's so many routes, and there's plenty of people in this world who have an incredible, healthy lifestyle, love who they are, and they don't do any work with macros, right?
That's true.
So, and the more I've traveled around the world, you meet different people who are fitness people. There's like so many different diets around the world. There's like a Mediterranean diet. There's a paleo. There's like you were mentioning earlier. There's keto. There's people that high carb. There's people who like try a diet and it doesn't work for them, and then other people for some reason it works. The way I see macros is no matter what, though, somebody, regardless of what they're doing with food, because we all need to eat, is aligning themselves, whether they know it or not, with some macronutrient breakdown. Because macros are in everything, because macros are proteins, fats, carbs, and that makes up calories. And anything you eat needs to have calories so that it can continue giving you energy. Unless you're a savage like a Lundus and you don't eat calories, bro. Shit, you just eat on the bread of life, bro.
Bro, I'm telling you, you start walking and you're feeling it in your whole body. You're like, all right, I'm feeling lighter. I'm feeling something different.
So for me, yeah, like everyone is attaining to some macronutrient breakdown, and I've been able to travel so much and like and just experience so many different cultures and foods and see like, okay, like this is how I can use my formula of what I'm doing, which is generally about 45% of my diet is in carbohydrates, 35% is in protein, and about 20% is in fat. And I think a lot of people are having way too much fat in their diet. And that's why they're overweight, because in every gram of fat, there's 9 calories. And in every gram of protein and carb, there's only 4. So most people are scared of carbs, but there's less calories in carbs than there is in fat. So it'd be better to have like 3 slices of bread than 2 tablespoons of butter, even though butter has no carbs and bread has all these carbs. Or fucking a cinnamon roll, maybe not a cinnamon roll because there's a lot of shit in there, but maybe like a big croissant over like 2 tablespoons of peanut butter. Like a croissant would be a better option, but a lot of people don't realize the density of fat, and they're more scared of carbs because we've been ingrained to believe like carbs are so like understanding these things and people's hang up with carbs and their misunderstanding of fat is a big deal within macros and global consumption of food. I should say more Western consumption because yeah, I know it more. And most people in the West, they're like scared of carbs, bro, for sure. Like anyone that joins my program, they're like, wait, I can eat rice? I
Yeah.
can eat bread? I'm like, yeah, Baba, it's okay, bro. It's okay. We can have beans too. It's all right, Brand.
Yeah, bro, I did that because people were asking me, how did you lose the weight? And then they were like, because I posted that I had tortillas right next to me. They're like, you have tortillas? I was like, yeah, you can either make them or you can get the
Yeah.
low cal ones. And then I was like, there's ones that are like 25 calories. So you can eat 4 of those. It's 100 calories and eat it with your eggs, rice, or whatever. And I was like, that was something that was big for me because I still want to eat tacos, so the wife's making chicken and we start making tacos. And then, my wife bought me one of those bolillos with the jalapenos and then the cheese in it. So I was
Yeah.
all happy. Oh, and then the little bit of what's it called? That cream cheese in it. So she got me one of those, and then I looked at the macros, and it was like around 200 calories, and I was like tripping out, And the
Yeah.
carbs on that were only like 30 grams. So I was all happy, eating it. And I was
Yeah.
like, this is my cheat meal, and I'm eating it. My wife's just like looking at me. And then I was like, actually, this is pretty good to eat. Like, we should start making our own. So we started making our own, which is less, and that was something for me was like, you can always cater or figure out what you want to eat at some capacity and then make it easy for you. So that's where it was funny because before we'd be eating all this Mexican food and kind of like I was saying, like the chicharrones and
Yeah.
learning you can make nachos with that. And it was like all these different things. My wife's always making chicken pozole, and I'm like, oh, I can eat this, And I'm like looking at the different things, and I'm like, you don't have to change your diet per se. You just have to change how much you're eating or
Yeah.
what's in it, essentially, and then catering to, hey, how do I fit this within what I need to stick to?
Correct.
And for me, I noticed like I'm short and stocky. So for me, I hold a lot of muscle mass. Even right now, like I'm losing muscle mass, but I still look big.
Yeah.
No, I'm looking like a skeleton a little bit, but still holding a little bit of muscle mass,
Yeah.
So high protein, low carb for me is amazing. It sucks initially because then you're like, oh, I'm trying to get on this. But then, I can eat rice all the time and I can literally eat more rice within a day. And it was funny. It's like when I started cutting, I was eating more rice than I was before when I wasn't cutting because I started understanding that as like, oh, this is a fast digesting carb. I can eat this every so often. I can eat this every 2 to 3 hours if I really want to.
Yep.
And then I can still hit those numbers. So
Yep.
that was funny for
Yep.
me is like, I would do that, eat an egg here, eat egg whites because they're lighter in calories. And then you can eat more. And then people were seeing me and they're like, how are you posting you're eating a cup and a half of egg whites with rice? And I'm like, oh, because it fits in the macros and egg whites are less calories than actual eggs. So you can do
Yeah.
both. But for me, I switch it up to both. And people are like, what the heck? You know what I mean? Doing the same thing like you, man, where we're
Yeah.
sharing our journey and then now people are asking about it and now we're coaching them on it.
Exactly, dude. Yeah, and the cool thing about macros for people listening is like you remove a lot of the emotion that's associated with what do I eat or where do we go eat or what's healthy, and
Yeah.
a lot of decisions we make around food are usually done in the moment of hunger, and that's why we search for food because we're hungry. But the gut is so attached to the brain and controls our emotional center of the brain that a lot of the choices we make, maybe they're healthy, we think they're healthy, we're doing our best, but then we'll have too much of it, right? So you can still get fat by eating too much healthy food. You can still, gain weight being a vegetarian or being on keto or whatever because you're having too much in excess of something good, which is its own teaching. But a cool part about macros is that you remove the guesswork, right? And so you become very much like, all right, like these are my numbers and this is all I get, kind of like a banking account or a checking account. Like this is all I can spend. And if I go over this, I'm actually far further away from my goal. But if I stay in here and I hit these numbers, I will 100% get results because it is mathematical and it does work because of your BMR and what how many calories you need in versus out to make you lose or gain weight. So for me, it's like so much better than being like, oh, I'm so hungry. What do I eat? I hope this is good. Fuck, like that shit is like so. That's how I used to be, man. And then you end up spinning in circles, and then you crash. And what does crash mean? Crash is like, fuck it, I'm going to Papa John's, bro. That's it. I can't
Bro,
do
I had that happen the other day to me. Me and one of this other fitness trainers, Jesus Mejia, we went out to go get lunch, right? And then we both got like top sirloin or something like that, right? So we got the
Mhm.
steak, and then on the side they were like, "Oh, we're gonna give you garlic fries," and he was gonna eat that, and because he was like, "Oh, this fits into the macros," and then they look at me, and I'm like, "Oh, can I get this cauliflower on the side?" And they're like, "Oh, that's a side," because it said like side dishes, so it said cauliflower, but I didn't know it was the
Yeah,
special thing. And the lady was tripping out because she's like, "Oh, we're gonna charge you extra for that." I was like, "Oh, that's fine. Go ahead and charge me for it. I'll have that as a side." I was like, "I can't break these macros. I gotta stick
yeah.
to the game plan. Just put that on the
That's
side. Charge me extra." She looks at me like, "What?" Because normally I guess people will be flipping out on them about upcharging or whatever. So she goes back. She's like, "The chef said we can do it for $4 instead of $8." Or $10. And I was like, that's perfect. I really appreciate you for going back there. But honestly, it was no big deal. And then they were just kind of looking at me, and then they bring the food. They're like, no one's ever asked to substitute the fries for cauliflower. And I was just like, yeah, for me, right now, high protein, low carb. So it's like within this was a teaching moment, so it was funny for
Yes,
me. It's like I'm over here teaching about what I'm doing. And
yes.
it was something where it was like, you take me anywhere now. I can look at the menu, whatever. I learned my lesson at Chipotle. I fucking spent $30 on one bowl because I wanted to get 4 scoops of meat. So we'll not be doing that again. But
Ha!
it's little because actually that was my daughter's birthday. So right before my daughter's birthday party, I knew they were gonna have pizza, and then so I went to Chipotle. I got like 2 scoops of barbacoa, 2 scoops of steak, and then I put it in a bowl, and then I got like a fajitas, and then I got black beans. And it was funny is they were trying to give me extra beans, and I was like, "Nah, I'm good." And then
Yeah.
I'm literally like in the parking lot of going into the roller rink when we had my daughter's second birthday, and I'm eating this food, and my family's looking at me like, "What the hell are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, they're gonna have pizza in there." And I was like, I don't eat it unless it's cauliflower pizza, unless it's like California Pizza Kitchen. It's something
Yeah.
low, with chicken,
Yeah.
or I just won't eat it. So we get in there,
Yeah.
and then one of the nieces, she's like, Theo, you need to eat this. So she gives me pizza, and I'm like looking at this pizza, and I'm like, fuck it, I'll take a little bite. So I take like a tiny bite, just to make her. She's all happy, like, you're eating the pizza. And then like I had my sister throw the pizza away, and I was laughing because old me would have just smashed like 4, 5, 6 pizzas, 6 slices right there, undo all the progress. But I made sure before eat this Chipotle, get a healthy bowl. That way, fit within the macros, and then can still get what I want, during the party, which was cool because I was so full. I didn't want to eat any cupcakes or anything.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
awesome, bro. That's
yeah,
awesome.
bro,
And
it was
also,
a
all
fun
this
time.
is from the knowledge of food. Um, but not just the knowledge, because you can know a lot, but the discipline, the inner willpower to say, like, I will not eat this, or I will eat this, and being able to have control of your stomach and your taste buds and your tongue, because a lot of times when we eat, it's like it's just a moment, bro. If it's a moment that if we would have changed it, everything else would have changed. I had this one client who would say, like, was it like a moment on the lips and a lifetime on the hips? That's what he would say. And it was like you make these little decisions just for some mouth pleasure, but then you wake up one day and you're like, look at all those little decisions, what they did to my waist.
I
It's
mean,
crazy.
that's true, bro. That's how it is right now. Like my waist is a lot smaller. My wife like grabbed me the other day, and she's like, what the heck? Your waist is small. She's like, that's weird. And I'm like, yeah, because for me, I'm already been bigger, So definitely on this fast, like I've learned more about myself. I'm not liking how small I am right now. I'm not liking
Hmm.
not working out, but I'm like, hey, it's been a great journey because it's taught me. And then too, even getting on the walk, somebody was like, how did you do a 5-mile walk? And I'm like, put one foot in front of the other, and you just keep pushing, and you'll be all right. They're like, did you take water with you? I'm like, no. They're like, you did a 5-mile walk on a fast without water. I'm like, yeah, I drink water before. I drink electrolytes after the walk. I'll be all right, And they're like, just looking at me like, what the hell is wrong with you? And I'm like, hey,
Damn.
I did this to challenge myself to be better. And two, that's what I'm learning from this fast. The good thing is I did about 4 or 5 24s before I did this, and then like a 30 hour. So I started
Okay.
realizing that too, where you said once we get to the 18, the 20 hour, where it's a little bit euphoric, we start feeling like we need to preach, and teach the things.
Yeah.
That's where I was at now. It's like I was on this fast. I started recording a video, and I was just like, yeah, blah blah blah. It's on you, and if you don't have the results, it's up to you. And
Yeah.
you can't get mad at anybody else because again, I was a big drinker, and that was my hang up was, oh, I wanted to drink, I wanted to eat bad. That's why I looked bad. That's why I couldn't lose weight because after
Yeah.
your metabolism takes 72 hours to go back to normal. So I was grinding, eating clean, fitting the macros, but I was drinking so much on the weekend that it was messing me up during the week, and I couldn't understand that because I
Yeah.
didn't have that knowledge. So it was
Yeah.
funny. It's like when I was on this walk, it just hit me. And I'm like, man, we do have the power for everything we want in life. It just means that we have to go within and then we have to do this, definitely abstaining from food. Now I'm learning it is like, you don't need food as much as you think. It's better to have it. I will say, I do get irritable. I'm noticing like the little things, the bags of crumpling shit. I'm like, bro, I'm
Yeah.
about to lose my fucking shit. But it's
Yeah.
you learn, like you don't need it. Um, you do get vivid dreams, though, I will say that. Like vivid
Wow.
dreams, and it's all about eating too. Like a lot of them are, oh, eat this, blah blah blah. Like, man, I
Oh
can't
boy, it's
escape
like
this.
these burritos in the sky, bro. These like flying cloud burritos.
Bro, I had a dream like that where it was like a party, and then they were like the first night was like, oh, you want some hot Cheetos? And then I was getting chased by like my wife and her sister about hot Cheetos, and then it was like steak, and then my wife made the pozole, so it was like wanting the pozole, and then she made chicken tacos, and then those look incredible, and then because she makes everything homemade, the guac, the chile, so she's like
So
eating in front of me, and I was just like dreaming about it, and I was like, bro, I cannot wait to eat, dude.
yeah. That's so good, dude. No, it's usually gonna be areas in our life where we experience some sort of loss or temporary restraint or some sort of momentary suffering that produces in us the lasting effect of happiness and pleasure that we were searching for.
Boom.
And instant gratification of like, give it to me now. I want it now, here, instant. That's usually what does give us a good rush of pleasure. But then in the end, it crashes. Or in the end, we get addicted. Or in the end, like that is our source of joy. So we have to keep returning to it. But there's power in restraint and avoidance in walking away. And even though it feels painful in the moment, you end up building like these blocks, I call them, of like happiness that you stand on. Right.
Amen, bro. That
So
was something I said as well. When I put a post out, I took a before pic before I started the fast. Not to interrupt real quick, but just say this one
yeah, yeah,
point.
no,
And I
please,
said
please. It's
exactly that, bro. I was like, this pain. I was like, a little bit of pain and suffering for me is going to bring the best out of me. It's to make me a better dad,
fine.
husband, leader, and two, I'm teaching people mindset. So I got to be able to do the tough things as well that I don't want to do. And that's where
Mhm.
like two of my clients, they were like, "Why did you do a 10-day fast?" I was like, "Because I didn't want to." And they were like, what? Normally people will avoid the things. And I was like, you know what? I've avoided fasting for a long time and
Yeah.
done 24s. I've done 48s, I've done a 72. I've done a 6-day fast. I was in high school. Not because I wanted to, but because I was cutting weight for wrestling, running 16 to 18 miles a day. So I just kind of thought back to it and I'm like, you know what? I could do a 10-day. And then even within it, someone asked me yesterday, like, oh, you're almost done with day 6. How does this make you feel? And I'm like, honestly, like, if I can go 10 days without eating, I have the rest of my life to eat. So it really doesn't matter to me about this 10 days because you're going to get through it. There's one constant you can't stop, and that is time. So it's going to get done regardless. It may be miserable within that time frame, but I'm going to grow from it. And you're going to hear me be a better leader from just doing that for those 10 days because I love to eat. And even on my cut, I'm showing me eating all this food. And people
Yeah.
are like, how are you eating this much? And I'm like, oh, because I love to eat, number one. Two, it's hard to get it down because I do have migraines and so forth. So it's learning how to take in the food. But
Mhm.
the second part was like, I needed to challenge myself to get to another mental blockade to where I was like, this 10-day fast will do exactly that.
Yeah, dude. Oof. Oof. No, I mean, I can't wait to hear. I feel like when it comes to these journeys, kind of like a marathon, uh, people talk about this euphoric feeling or something that they hit near the end of the marathon. I did a half marathon. I remember the feeling like on the last lap where it becomes like glory, and it becomes like you've already won. You're already here, but you're not done yet, but you feel like you've entered the reality of like, I'm untouchable. I've come this far. Like you lose the shame. So I look forward for you, like what happens on, day 8, especially 9, leading up to the end.
I know
I really
Saturday
look forward
night's
to
gonna be rough, because I'm gonna be just my mind's gonna be messing with me. Because that's the thing
that.
too. Uh, the one thing I recommend, is anytime you're doing a fast, start the night before. So last meal the night before. But I didn't do that. I started at. I was supposed to start at 8 a.m., but I decided I want to move it up to 6 a.m. So when I finish,
Mhm.
it's going to be at 8 a.m. to add 2 extra hours. And
Yeah.
then that morning, I worked out, took pre-workout, threw up all my food, which was just 2 eggs, uh, blueberries, watermelon, threw all that up, and then rice. So I threw all that up and then started the fast at 6 a.m. So it was funny because I did it intentionally harder, which makes it harder when I'm talking about the days, because people were like, oh, this is, it looks like it's not day 7. And then I finished day 7 the next morning. So it was funny for me because I'm like, that last day, I did it intentionally that way. That way I
Yeah.
can get up at 2, get some more cardio in before I end the fast. And people were just like, how are you going to do that? And I'm like, oh, you just push yourself more and more and more. And I was like,
Mhm.
2, for me, I knew that that's what people don't do. So I was like, I'm going to do the inverse and do that harder shit for me.
Fuck yeah, dude. Fuck yeah. I love it, bro. I'm so pumped up for you, man. It's to everyone listening, that's never fasted before. I know it could sound rather daunting, and rather difficult to do, but I want to say that it's how we grow. The only growth that you and I have ever had in our life, is when we've undergone difficult things, but not only difficult things, but the overcoming of them. That's what built our character. That's what shaped us and formed us. And so, for a lot of people, the thought of giving up 24 hours of food, it's like, what? And it's like, that's exactly why you should do it.
Oh, 100%. And I'd say even the 24s, I did so much of the 24s. I think I did like, yeah, I said 5 to 8.
Mm-hmm.
5 recently, and then 3 in June when I started losing. Back then, and I think too, it's about reps, right? Like the more that you do these 24s, it becomes easier. Your mind shifts. You
Yeah.
understand how to push through. I was even talking about, like, I'm 48, so I like to work out both days. And people were kind of like, what the heck, and I'm like, one of my friends is he does hit workouts on 72, and he's always doing these like CrossFit shit for 72-hour fasts. And I'm like, hey, props to you, brother, but I don't like CrossFit, number one. And number two, like, that's rough, to be doing this high intensity, keeping your heart rate up while being on a prolonged fast like that. So it's really that power, in you. And I think that's what it is. It's like people need to get crystal clear with themselves. For me, it was like I had the macros dialed in. What's next? What else can I do? So that is that. I know the next thing I want to do is a 28-day fruit and veggie fast, which I've been researching into. It's not just going vegetarian. It's eating 900 to 1,000 calories a day. So I
Yep.
know that's definitely going to be taxing on me. So I'm like preparing myself mentally for that right
Yeah.
now, where I'm like, hey, at least I can eat that. And then two, I'm like, honestly, eting fruit would not be bad. Just eating fruit all day and then
Yeah.
not eating anything else. That'd be perfect to me. So I'm gonna look more into that one, but I'm really interested on that one.
I like how you always push yourself and on to the next thing, trying new things, experimenting with your body, like just playing around, seeing what can come out of it. What's the new thing that can grow me or build me? I think it's a good analogy for how life should be lived. You're molding it. Like imagine if you had like a character in a video game, and your job was to defeat people and grow and advance into levels and win the game. But imagine if you were just like, nah, I'm just gonna like chill here, and just like I got everything I need in this land. And I'm just gonna chill. It's like, all right, you can do that, but you'll eventually get bored, and you'll start to die inside. So you might as well go fucking explore the world, mold this character, go through trials and tribulations, and fall down rabbit holes and get up different things and win and lose. And it's like when I see you talking about this, I'm like, yeah, it's exactly that, bro. You're just like You're
You
just
have
seeing
to
what
though.
else can be possible.
Yeah, you have to do that though. I think that's part of the human experience, bro. Is like we're so ingrained in. I know for me, I am. I'm on a routine. Like honestly,
Hmm.
if it was really up to me, and this is why I've challenged myself, and this is why I'm like blessed to have my wife that can cook all this stuff, and she's
Yeah.
educated on nutrition. Is like, for instance, she went to boot camp, bro. All I ate for 6 months, right? First meal, 2 eggs, a cup of ground turkey, half a cup of rice every morning, and then it would be and then about about a bell pepper cut in between, put in there. Second meal, half a cup of rice, a cup of broccoli. We do about 2 cups of chicken, and then boom, third meal. I'll do about 12 ounces of salmon, half a cup of rice, and then about a cup and a half of broccoli. And that was it for 6 months. That's all I was eating. I got
Damn.
shredded in that 6 months. And people were
Wow.
just like, what? And I wasn't even tracking macros just because I knew for my body that's what it was. I would start lean in the morning, get a little heavier at lunch, and then have the fatty at nighttime. And that worked for me. But it was like, two, I wasn't gaining anything from doing that because I was just training myself to be on routine. And then the
Yeah.
moment I got off that, I started eating like crazy because I was like, oh, I don't want to eat this. It's like
Yeah.
dog food to me now because I ate it for 6 months. So it was funny for me. It's like once I got that dialed in to where we can eat on the macros, we can eat and understand what we're eating, or even not even track macros. Like we know what we should eat, how to switch it up. It became a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
And that was one of the reasons why I didn't like keto. Was for me, like I just could not get into it. I didn't want to eat that. I would go into anything. I think back then I had a problem with carbs too. Is like I wanted carbs way too much, so
Yeah.
I should have adjusted the diet to something that was better. But at that time, I was like, "Nah, I'm gonna make this keto thing work." Versus now, where I'm like, "Oh, I know exactly what to do. I know how to cut carbs out, leave carbs in."
Mm.
One of the things I'll probably try to next month is one of my buddy does what is it, the alternating your carbs. So one
Cycling.
day, yeah, carb cycling, there we go. So he'll do 24 hours with, 24 hours without. And I was like, I really liked it. Like honestly, I like just going straight carnivore, and that's something I just want to do. So I'm like looking into all those different things, especially because I have all these joint issues. And I've heard all people healing joint issues, anti-inflammatory diseases by just going carnivore. So it's something that I'm like, man, I need to research more into it. But two, like we talked about it, you travel all over the world, brother. You're seeing all these different diets. Like it's whatever works for you. And two, you
Mm.
gotta try it out for yourself. And a
Yeah.
lot of us get stuck in that bubble. A lot of us don't want to do those things.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good, man. That's good. No, it's there's not one diet that's for the whole world, and it's what works for you. It's what's sustainable, right? You might have to go through like a 3 month or 6 week like zero carbs, right? And then get your result and then maintain it and then change it up again. And I think ultimately what you want to be able to do is have a diet that helps grow your mind, that challenges you, that keeps you disciplined, that you can do long term, that you would recommend for others, right? To try, that and that lastly gives you the body that you're content with. I mean, this is why we diet. Imagine if there was no such thing as a body, but you could still eat, and we were like appearing as a different species. There would be no reason to care what you eat. The reason we care what we eat is because it affects our image. So it's lastly, it's about like loving the way you look. If you love your diet but you don't love the way you look, it's like I think something's off there. So you need to love your diet and then also love your image.
Ooh, I love that, brother. Because that's something. Actually, out of that with one of my clients.
Mm,
He's a coach, but he's not there yet. He hasn't got over that hump too early. He can present himself, and he's talking about self confidence. And it was
mm,
funny because we got a little disagreement because I was talking about macros, and I was just saying like for me as men, as leaders, your
mhm.
physical appearance is your portfolio. You walk into a room. I
Yeah.
had a fat sales manager one time. good dude, really great guy, but he was a fat guy. So he would walk
Yeah.
into the room and everybody would just be like, "Oh, it's this guy. Hey, Daniel." And like,
Yeah.
they just
You
treat
got
this
any
dude like,
jelly beans?
yeah, like they would just talk shit to this guy, and then there would be me coming in there. Like there was another dude, and we're just big dudes. So they're like, "Oh, yeah," and like start hyping us up. Oh, let's do push-ups. And it was just a different mentality. So I'm telling this client, and I was like, "Yeah, I was watching a guy, and I heard good things about him, and drinking Modelo's, drinking like eating like shit, drinking sodas." And I was like, "I have no problem with soda if it's diet, but if you're drinking regular sodas, man, like you gotta substitute that. So I just noticed like we're not aligned, and two, he doesn't get it. So this client was like, "Well, if you're not a fitness coach, it doesn't matter." I was like, "100% matters. Like what you take into your body, and two, how you show up for the world is what everybody's going to pick up on you on." And I'm like, if you don't understand that, or you don't want that result, then you got to get to work. So it kind of was the same thing. Was the client was like, "Oh, I was like, are you in the best shape of your life that you're comfortable with, or even happy with how your appearance is?" And then he goes, "No, like, but I've been working at it, and it's okay though." And here goes the validation of what we're doing today, validating ourselves for what is okay. So he goes to me, he goes, "Are you in the best shape?" And I go, "No, I'm getting there." And then he just looks at me, and I was like, "No, I'm going to add more muscle mass. I've gotten leaner. I've lost the gut. I've done all the things I said I'm going to do." And it's still, even at this point, I can be content right now, and I can be like, my physique's good, but I don't like it. I want to do more because we can always up that bar and do better. And I was like, two, how am I a good leader if I'm over here content with not being the best that I can be, knowing damn well that there's more to give? And that was one of the things that I learned about on the fast as well, is like, even when you think you have nothing, like yesterday, I felt hungry. It hit out of nowhere because really it goes away. So it hit out of nowhere. And then I was just sitting there and I was like, man, I am so damn hungry, but I have more to give. There's still more that I got to do. Us as men, that's our energy, is the
Yeah.
giving. So I was like, I got more to give. And at this time, it's more for this walk. It's more for talking, more for preaching. If I can do those things, then I'm fulfilled. Then I don't have to worry about this eating. And it was exactly that. Went for the walk,
So
started
good.
preaching a little bit. And then I realized, like, oh, I'm feeling good. And then I came home, I'm doing burpees. And my wife's like, how are you doing burpees? Like, you have energy. And I'm like, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know how I have energy right now, but I'm just going.
It's truly a moment, bro. It's a moment. I tell this to my clients. I structure their meal plans and help them understand macros, and something I get them to see when they are dieting, right? Feeling hungry, trying to lose the weight. Some people are down 20 pounds, they're going for 30. You're in that in between of like, oh, 10 more pounds. I'm fine where I'm at, but yet I want more. And they're feeling the effects of hunger in the moment. And I tell them, like, I'll give you an example, like for the women that I coach, and they have children, they're mothers. And I say, if you're feeling like this hungry, right? And you're just like, oh, I want to eat, I don't give a fuck about this diet. And your son like falls down the stairs, right? And he like bumps his head and makes a loud noise and he starts crying. And you look at him and his like little wrist is broken, right? You would immediately go into this higher state of frequency. You would become very much alert, you become very much aware, and you would realize that as a mother, you have to protect this son at all costs and do what's necessary that he would find healing. You wouldn't think to yourself, I'm hungry, I need to go eat. You wouldn't think to yourself on the way to the hospital, I need to go get a cheeseburger on the way there. You would immediately lose your hunger because you would be caught up into a higher state of priority and purpose. And that is the key, bro, with hunger that you just mentioned. If you can shift your perspective, right, to like bigger, higher things from above, or serving a mission for other people that you love, you say you love, if you fix that energy there, bro, hunger leaves, bro. Hunger leaves. It's a moment. So this is something that I tell them, and they're like, "Fuck, you're right. Like, it's just the truth, you know."
You know what? Before we wrap this up, I think that's the one thing I'm not looking forward to after this fast is uh on this fast now I've got to a point where like I don't get as hungry, but I know when I'm eating a lot, you're gonna get that hunger and you're like, man, I just want to eat, and it's gonna be
Yeah,
frustrating and irritating. So I'm not looking forward to those moments because
yeah.
man, but it's been awesome, just pushing myself to do more and then
Mhm.
being capable of it. So you've been an amazing guest today, brother. I know I definitely will have you on in the future for a second time. But last
100%.
question here, bro. What would you
Yeah.
say to the previous version of ourselves? We don't know where to start. We just want to align ourselves with our definition of success.
Say that one more time, bro. So one more time so I can hear it.
Yeah. What would you say to the previous version of ourselves? We don't know where to start. We just want to align ourselves with our definition of success.
I would say like to Buchner has this quote where he says most of men's problems stem from their inability to sit in a room by themselves quietly. So I would say you need to get really fucking honest with yourself and just go into that room quiet. I'm a pen and paper guy, so I would sit there and just be extremely honest with who you are, what's happened in your life, and what you want. That's the key, man. Like to start, the key is to start. That's what I would recommend to every human being. You know, it's a universal. You know.
Hell yeah, brother. That is awesome. And I love that so much because when you can have that stillness, that's when life changes. So
Yeah,
thank you again, brother. You've been an
dude,
amazing guest.
100%, bro. I'm honored to be on this podcast, bro. And to everyone listening, you will never have a podcast host that will go 10 days without eating, and that's why you know you're being led by a savage.
Boom, brother. Where can people find you, man, if they want to keep up with you?
Dude, Instagram or Facebook, but Instagram, my handle, you could put it in show notes if you want, but it's Justin Aguirre 7.
Yes,
So
sir.
follow me there, bro. Let me know if you want to work with me. Send me a DM, and I'll be happy to get you set up.
We'll do, brother. We'll have everybody there. Thank you again, my man.
Dude, 100%. Abrazo, bro.
Abrazo.